Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Super. I want to thank everyone who put this conference together. It's really pretty tremendous, particularly the organizing committee and the Lambda Chi Alpha Phalanx Honor Society, Rensselaer Alumni Association, and the Union Speaker Forum. It's quite amazing that you all would come out during exam week. I was stunned. So let's begin. A very simple gesture and sentence spoken during my field work, during a lesson in Japanese traditional dance in Tokyo, changed my life. My headmaster, Tachibana Hiroyo, said, "Know with the body, karada de oboeru," as she gently drew her hand to her chest. In this fleeting moment, she succinctly imparted a cultural sensibility, a Japanese way of knowing that moved beyond these few words and gesture. Curious about such moments of realization and the embodiment of sensibilities conveyed during lessons, I was drawn to research how culture and agency is passed down or embodied through movement. And just to step back a second, I want to say that I refer to the cycle of teaching and learning as transmission here. Teaching and learning are inseparable and can create a vibrant cycle of knowledge building. We become what we practice. Know with the body, karada de oboeru. For many years, I've been stalking the ephemeral, the transmission of embodied cultural knowledge. The hunt led me to the body and then to the senses as vehicles for transmission of embodied knowledge. Specifically for this project, it was embodied cultural knowledge. So with that, let us do something in communitas together to acknowledge our bodies. So everyone, sit back in your chair if you're not already, feet flat on the ground. Everybody inhale deeply and exhale together. Let's draw the room together. Inhale again. And this time, drop your head with your chin dropping to the chest. So inhale and exhale your head down. And leave it there. You have about a 9-pound skull, head, cranium. Just let it drop. No crunching. Inhale, look up. Thank you. I'm going to ask you to do that again later, just to prep you. So when you breathe in, throughout this talk, note the expanding belly, the chest and the ribs, and the intercostal muscles fanning out. And keep breathing, please, throughout, please. So take a moment to imagine the space you're filling in the chest, the interior negative space of the lungs, windpipe, throat, and your mouth. While the inner contour of your air column remains hidden, it is a commanding volume of emptiness and fullness, breathing in and breathing out. A few years ago, a saxophonist, Simon Rose, sent me his reflections on improvisation. He wrote, "The contours of the sound directly reflect the internal contours of the body." So with this in mind, everybody again, breathe in and breathe out together. The contours of the sound directly reflect the internal contours of the body. So everyone, as you inhale, tip your head over to the right and let the muscles on one side, on your left side, relax. Again, no crunching. Inhale to 12 o'clock and exhale to the other side. We need this. Please remember to do this. And inhale up again. Now everybody smile. I need this, so please help me out. Thank you. Thank you for that performance. So the so-called empty internal space reveals fullness, reveals form, and offers a cyclic exchange of interior and exterior corporeal experience. The liminal passage of such a sensual and personal exchange, air drawing in, nourishing, and becoming breath. Yet, most days we find this experience ordinary, mundane even. We don't usually need to consciously think about drawing in air and expelling it. But today I want to talk about embodied learning and creative experimentation. I want to actually bring the noise back in from the last paper, from that elephant. So I have a question. If we become better at something through practice and we become what we practice, how can we develop creative insights outside of our embodied habits? I have another question. Where does experimentation come in your life? Where does it fit into your life? Experimentation here includes creativity, making, maybe creating art. Your life refers to your everyday experiences, your studies, research, and expressivity. Where does experimentation fit in your life? I'm asking this because it's a question I've been regularly asking myself for many years. The body and the senses are valuable resources for understanding knowledge building, including how we take in information inactively through movement, through visual knowledge, through tactile knowledge, through scent, all the variety beyond perhaps what we have confirmed as the five senses. Okay? With the sensory turn, there have been a realization that different cultures recognize a different system for sensory knowledge and also have a different hierarchy of what sensory knowledge is. In my eyes, experimentation is key to growth through the body and through the senses. Experimentation can enable a deconstruction of the sensory hierarchies that we have been raised with or enculturated into. So let's step back a moment. There's a paradox I really need to talk about. So I teach courses on creativity. Creativity is not really something you can teach, but something you can encourage or inspire, or sometimes I trick those under my watch. It's not a tidy matter at all. In fact, in many cases, experimentation is extraordinarily chaotic and really unruly. And I love the unruliness of it. Understandably, traditional modes of transmission in grade schools and universities are set up to provide students with fundamental knowledge in particular disciplines. We need this. You don't like machine learning. We want our doctors to understand about the body. We want people who are going to be doing surgery on even our thumbs right, to understand and have a foundation of learning from a very traditional mode of transmission. This is important. However, how can one reimagine and experiment with what is already learned and embodied, sort of in a more embodied cognitive way even, so that we can build upon established foundations of knowledge? How can we embody knowledge, yet remain flexible enough to experiment? So this paradox really fascinates me, trying to turn things on its head. In the last few years, I made a promise to myself. I had to create something new every day. The key is that it has to involve an activity that I don't normally do in my everyday life, such as practicing music and dance. I'm a performer. I'm completely aware that creativity flourishes with regular practice. We become what we practice. So I made a pact with myself to set up a daily practice. What? You just told me that practice starts messing things up. We get habitual, right? Practicing creativity, you just told us about this paradox. Practicing experimentation? What? This is more about generating ideas, heightening awareness, and even trying to trick myself to explore. It doesn't need to be an enormous endeavor, but it needs to happen every single day. If I'm about to go to bed, and it does happen often, not going to bed, but that I realize that I haven't done anything creative all day, which is, of course, relative, right? I grab one of the sketchbooks that sit by my bedside, and I write a few words that will become a poem tomorrow, or swipe a few meaningful strokes on paper, or I get up and take a few photographs, even in the dark, and so on. I dare you to try this for even a week. Really, really, really. It will change the way you think about things. And I guarantee you that the challenge will affect you. Inhale and exhale. Inspire and expire. The only way I can continue to promise to myself is to remain humble in my lack of intention and expectation. What? Again, lack of intention and expectation. No specific goals exist except to generate a creative space and no expectations for brilliance. I imagine if only one out of those 1,000 creative moments reveals even a small insight, broadens the horizon and my awareness, then I'm one fortunate human being. But beyond this, my intention remains to foster creative practice, creative exploration. Inhale and exhale. Inspire and expire. My activity needs to lie outside of my normal creative routine in order for me to be disoriented in a sensory way. Let's say it again. My activity needs to lie outside of my normal creative routine in order for me to be disoriented in a sensory way. Inhale and exhale. Inspire and expire. Thank you. Again, my activity needs to lie outside of my normal creative routine in order for me to be disoriented in a sensory way. In my book, Sensational Knowledge, I explored notions of orientation through disorientation. I wrote, orientation through disorientation occurs as a disruption of normalcy, followed by a clarity that signals a reorientation and comprehension of one's sense of place, literal or otherwise. In my daily creative practice, I attempt to try something new, playful even, that disrupts my sensibility of being oriented and stable. It messes with my sensory order. By trying something different, there's potential for returning to my daily life with a very different perspective, or with new potentials for knowledge building. The senses and the body are stretched a little bit, and there's growth. Thank you.